Some views aren't just beautiful, they're a marker, a sign. For thousands of people, this wasn't just a sign, it was a promise that they were on the right path, leaving the plains behind and pushing on toward their future. And today, the view still holds that promise, just in a different way. Last night, I fell asleep in the shadow of the bluff, waking up here at Rubidoux Campground with the sun hitting these incredible rock formations. I feel so small and greatly humbled by the sheer grandeur of it all. For the pioneers, Scotts Bluff was more than just a landmark. It was a beacon of hope after months of hardship. For me, it was a peaceful night's rest in my own little home on wheels. But as I get ready to explore, I can't help but feel a connection to those who came before me, a shared sense of awe at this incredible place. Hey, so I'm camped at Scotts Bluff National Monument. Actually not camped there, I'm in Rubidoux Campground in Gering, Nebraska. This campground is run by the city of Gering. And so I'm gonna head over to Scotts Bluff, but I wanted to mention a resource that I've been using for my trip. It's called Traveling the Oregon Trail by Julie Fenislow. It's really got some great information in here. And one of the things that I wanted to share with you about Scotts Bluff is something she said about the indigenous people, what they called this site. It seems very appropriate. Unfortunately, I cannot find the page right now. So let me see. Here it is. She says that the native Cheyenne, Sioux, and Arapaho wandered through this area as many as 10,000 years ago, following the Platte River to places where buffalo herds would stop to drink. Native peoples called the monolith Miapate, apologies if I'm butchering that, which means hill that is hard to go around. So that probably is an apt description. I'm going to hike up it, so we'll see how that goes. But I'll be taking you along. All right, heading over there now. Welcome back, fellow road warriors. Scotts Bluff National Monument is a truly commanding presence on the horizon, and for the pioneers, it was a crucial and often dreaded gateway to the next, even harder phase of their journey, the end of the beginning. I'll be taking the Saddle Rock Trail, and you can see that the road to the summit is right in front of me. I believe there are 3 tunnels on the road, but my RV, I really didn't want to risk whether or not it could fit in there. Oh, they have an audio tour. Let's see what that's about. Imagine being on the Oregon Trail, walking for months in open prairie, and then you see this colossal formation. It must have been daunting. It reminds me of the Native Americans' name for Scotts Bluff. The hill that is hard to go around is no exaggeration.
For me, this hike is a physical challenge, a way to connect with the landscape on foot, just as the pioneers did. It's steep, it's rugged, and the views just keep getting better with every switchback.
Okay, so I don't know, maybe a quarter of the way up. It's hard to judge, but there's this big wash here, and I don't know what the grade is on this, but we're coming up to a switchback that goes up that way, and if you can see, there's some folks way up there.
As I make my way up, I can't help but think about the sheer will it must have taken to get a wagon train past this point, let alone climb it on foot after weeks of travel. And out here, the wind isn't a breeze, it's a constant physical presence. It presses against you, a force that you can feel every moment of the day, trying to push you just slightly off balance. You hear it as a low, continuous howl that never truly goes away. For the pioneers, this wasn't just weather, it was a relentless companion on their journey, an invisible force that dried out their skin, rattled their wagons, and constantly tested their patience. It's a symbol of the raw, untamed character of this land, a constant reminder of how vast and powerful nature truly is.
So this is cool. We get a tunnel experience. Us hikers. Wow. I don't know if you can see the view at the end of the tunnel there. It's nice and cool in here. So that's Gearing and Scotts Bluff. Further north there. I was trying to see if I could find my campsite, my campground that I'm staying at, the Ruby-Doo. I was calling it Robidoux, and a local said, nope, Ruby-Doo. Just like Scooby-Doo. All right. Heading up. All right, I would say we're maybe halfway up. There's no signs, but I put on my hiking boots thinking this would be a rocky trail, and honestly, footwear could be just about anything except maybe flip-flops, but I've seen people do that too. But if you have a fear of heights, there's no railing, it's straight down. I'll show you up here. I did the Angel's Landing Trail, which I'm kind of thinking of while I'm walking this one. I never felt like just, the sheer drop-off of that trail. That's the one in Utah in Zion. So just a thought while I walk. All right, heading up more. And there's another vantage point, but it doesn't show the switchbacks on the opposite side. So the trail curves around in this gulch, and then it goes around the end here, and then it goes up about 5 switchbacks on the opposite side of this guy.
Nature's sculptures. I think it looks a bit like a turkey talking to the Easter Island statue. What do you think?
Okay, I think we're almost to the top. the spot. Summit parking, and I am almost to the top. Forgot to mention the road I drove in on to get to the park was called Old Oregon Trail Road, and it's actually the way the overlanders passed, along with many other folks, fur traders, indigenous people long before we came. Yeah, I don't know if you can see the cars out in the distance. All right, made it to the summit, Saddle Rock Trail Summit, and I don't know if you can see down there, there's a bike trail. I'm going to try and ride that later.
Standing here at nearly 800 feet above the North Platte River, the view is absolutely breathtaking. But for the pioneers, their view of Scotts Bluff marked a challenging, critical transition. After the relatively flat plains, this massive formation and the badlands around it forced the trail to narrow, and it was a point of pivotal decision-making. Wagons either had to choose to navigate incredibly rough terrain through the canyon or risk a dangerous river crossing over the North Platte. This was a gateway to the high plains, the drier, more rugged landscape that lay on the journey ahead. This remarkable place truly tested their resolve. The black cylinder you see in the distance marks the highest point on Scotts Bluff. Even this colossal landmark is not permanent. It's a layered formation of soft and hard rock, and the relentless forces of wind and water are slowly undercutting the top. It's a constant, ongoing process. This same fate is happening to Chimney Rock, too. Ultimately, Scotts Bluff and Chimney Rock stand as silent, humbling reminders that in the face of nature's scale, even our journeys and our most cherished landmarks are a part of a grander, ongoing story.
Wow, the summit up here is a lot bigger than I thought. You could walk on the top of this for quite a while, but from the ground it looks rather skinny. There's a place to sit. Let's see how windy it is behind this little pine tree. And that's pretty windy here, but beautiful. It reminds me of the scripture that you can hear God's voice as a whisper in the wind.
This is the Scott Memorial for whom this bluff is now named. As I mentioned earlier, before it was known by its modern name, this landmark was called something else entirely by the Native American tribes who lived here. The Pawnee actually had a more complete name for this bluff, Ma'apatewa'i, or the hill that is hard to go around. This landmark gets its modern name from a tragic story. In 1828, a fur trapper named Hiram Scott fell gravely ill and was left behind by his party. His final journey was a struggle to survive, and his remains were later discovered here. To honor his sacrifice, the landmark was given its name by the pioneers who followed. For early pioneers, this bluff was a major obstacle. They had to take a long detour through a place called Rubidoux Pass, about 9 miles from here, where Antoine Rubidoux built a trading post. But in 1850, a new route was forged right through the heart of the bluff, called Mitchell Pass. That narrow gap became a game changer. It wasn't an easy trek. It was only one wagon wide, and the dust was a huge issue, but it saved pioneers a whole day of hard, back-breaking travel. It became a symbol of human ingenuity and resilience. Approaching the even windier north-facing side of the summit, I arrive at the trail's end. And I am blown away. Forgive the pun. Seeing this bird's eye view of the land really highlights what the pioneers on the trail endured and achieved. This journey wasn't just a physical test of endurance, it was also a spiritual one, a profound test of their faith and will to push on to their dream. They had conquered the hill that is hard to go around. As I approach the tunnel on my descent, I'm thinking about the pioneers and their entire journey across the plains, how it was a period of relentless hardship. It truly was the darkest before the dawn, and the first sight of this bluff on the horizon was their own proverbial light at the end of that tunnel. This breathtaking view of Scott's Bluff rising up before them was the first real promise that their struggle was leading them to a new world. Well, as tough as going up is, I think my knees appreciate that more than going down. But we are almost to the bottom, and it was the perfect day, especially considering the rain's been following me. Home stretch. The pioneers' journey didn't end here. They still had hundreds of miles to go, with more hardships ahead. But Scott's Bluff, and particularly Mitchell Pass, was a symbol of their progress and signaled that they were almost halfway through their journey. Next, our journey continues deeper into the heart of the Oregon Trail in Wyoming, where the choices of the past become monuments of history. Again, just a beautiful day. All right, let's get these hot, sweaty boots off. A sign here speaks to the choices that pioneers faced, and it resonates deeply with me. I pause to reflect on how their journey mirrors my own, despite our distinct differences. Their lives, much like mine, are a series of gambles, choices made and paths taken that define who we are. In the end, we are all travelers on our own journeys, navigating the unknown in pursuit of our dreams. Until next time, happy trails.